Sit back and listen to this extremely interesting story. Chapter 1. A young wife begins to condition her husband. Sandy Blair is an attractive, married, loving wife and mother. She is very petite at 5-0, with a 28-20-30 young teenage girl figure and weighs just under 90 pounds. Her slim figure makes her legs look long for her height. Her light brown hair hangs just above her shoulders. She could pass for a 13-year-old girl. She has brown eyes, so big you can get lost. When she looks at you, a small nose and full lips. Her skin is soft and smooth with only a few faint smile lines. Sandy and Alex have been married for 19 years, and she recently turned 38. Alex is 10 years her senior at 48. Their only child, Tanya, is 18 and currently in college. The marriage was good and married life was always fantastic. Sandy has always been low maintenance and enjoys being with Alex and doing what he likes. She works full-time at an accounting firm and usually dresses business, like during the week, except for casual Fridays when she likes to wear blue jeans. She had been at her job for just under a year. You see, they both changed careers. Alex went back to school and got an engineering degree at the age of 34, and Sandy has had an accounting degree for a year now. This story is about a loving couple that are about to take a journey into a lifestyle that neither of them had expected. The story will be told from each of their perspectives. It was a sunny Friday morning, and we were both getting ready for work. Sandy was wearing her blue jeans, high-heeled sandals, and a blue ruffled jacket with puffy short sleeves. The top is elasticated at the waist and snugly fits her tiny flat stomach. It also only goes down to the top of her belly button, so she showed off her slim figure in the low-cut jeans. Her jeans fit her tightly, showing off her toned legs. "Sandy, don't you think that is a little too casual for work?" Alex asked. "I don't think so." She replied, "Last Friday Bob told me that in the summer months it can be a little more casual than it has been in the winter." Bob is one of Sandy's friends from work, and they like to go shopping on the weekends and sometimes get together for cocktails after work. Alex hadn't met Bob yet. Sandy had told him that Barb was the youngest in their department. She is 22 years old, single, and unlike Sandy, Barb is 5-10 inches tall, has long legs, blonde hair, and blue eyes. That would make her an inch taller than Alex. He is 5-9 tall and weighs around 190 pounds. Alex used to work out regularly and still has a stocky build, but has let himself go a little over the past couple of years. He's not in bad shape, but could use a little toning up. With his black and silver hair, icy blue eyes, and thick mustache, he has a bit of Old West gunfighter look about him. Alex and Sandy both enjoy being outdoors and keep a deep bronze tan year-round with the help of a tanning bed that they purchased last year. Sandy was in the aisle putting away one of the files she had been working on when John walked up to her and asked, "Sandy, can you stop by my office when you have a minute?" Without turning to look at him, she replied that she would be right over. Sandy walked into John's office and asked, "Okay, Johnny, what can I do for you?" Sandy walked around to his side of the desk and leaned against it. John looked her over slowly and replied, "You should know what you can do for me, and I sure would like to show you what I can do for you." Sandy replied, "Come on, John, I'm busy and don't have time for this." She moved away from the desk just a couple of inches and noticed how John watched her every move. She liked the attention but wasn't about to let him know it. John spun his office chair to face where Sandy was standing and said, "Sandy, you look great in those little jeans. I just wanted to ask you to go out with us tonight." Sandy could see John's excitement and could almost feel his eyes burning as he looked at her. Sandy looked John straight in the eye and said, "John, you know I'm happily married and I'm not going to cheat on my husband." John placed his large hand on Sandy's lower back and slowly lowered her. Sandy started walking away, but John didn't stop. That's part of the appeal of Sandy. The thought of spending time with another man's wife really appeals to me. Sandy responded, "John, could you just try to behave like a gentleman? You don't need to be so forward with me. Barb and I have already talked about it. We might see you there, but I need to get back to work, big boy." Sandy touched his big shoulder lightly and turned to leave. Walking back to her desk, she felt her heart racing and wondered if she could continue resisting this boy. Sandy called Alex at around 1:30 in the afternoon and asked him if he had any plans for the evening. "Nothing special," Alex replied. "What do you have in mind?" "Well, some of the people from the firm are going to a club tonight. Thought you might like to meet some of them. The band is supposed to be good." Alex replied, "That sounds like it could be fun. "What time would you like to go?" Sandy answered, "We could get some dinner and show up at around 9. Alex agreed and Sandy responded, "Love ya, see you at home after work." I arrived at home before Sandy, so I thought I would relax on the patio and fix a drink. It was really warm out, so I changed into a pair of shorts, fixed a bourbon and Coke, and pulled out a lounge chair. I wasn't wearing a shirt. Thought I could work on my tan for a half hour or so before Sandy gets home. I was on my second drink when Sandy walked out on the patio. "Hey, nice," she said. I asked her where she had been, and Sandy said she bought a new blouse at the mall. Sandy said she needed to get ready and went into the house. I followed her inside to make another drink. I heard the water running in the bath, so I went into the bedroom to see what I could wear. Sandy had her outfit laying out on the bed, a pair of white casual pants and a black sheer top. She had her black high heels out that she likes to wear, makes her look a couple of inches taller. I put on a pair of tan-colored Dockers pants and a yellow button-down shirt. That's good enough, I thought. Just as I was finishing, Sandy walked in wearing her short shower robe. I thought I would finish my drink while watching her get dressed. I sat in the armchair in the corner of the room, overlooking the bed toward the full-length mirror that she likes to dress in front of. I picked up a vacation magazine and started flipping through the pages as the robe came off and was tossed onto a chair in front of the vanity. Sandy looked so pretty. She was standing there brushing her hair. Sandy noticed me admiring her in the mirror. She teased me a little. She said, "Do you like what you see?" I got up, stood behind her, and wrapped my arms around her small waist. "I'm lucky you're such a beauty," I said, hugging her. I could feel how excited she was. I started playing with her, but she pushed me away. "Go downstairs and fix me one of those drinks while I get dressed," she said. "Save that for later." A few minutes later, I took her drink up to her. She was now sitting in front of her vanity, putting on her makeup. "Thanks," she said. "I'll be down in a few minutes." I took the hint that she wanted me to leave her alone, so I decided to retreat to the deck. 10 minutes later, Sandy walked out on the deck. "How do I look?" she asked. She walked over to the side of the deck where the sun was to her back. Her white pants looked almost see-through. I didn't realize how thin the material was when I saw them in the bedroom. The pants were cut even lower than her favorite jeans. I asked her to turn around slowly. When she turned on her side, I could see a sheer black top. She was not untied this evening, which is unusual for her when she goes out in public. The black top went down to the middle of the chest, had a wide elastic band around the waist. When she turned her back, I told her it was quite revealing. She turned to look at herself. "I'll change a bit," she said. When she came back, I didn't bother to tell her that it only got better. The white pants only reached mid-calf, and she looked great with black heels. Her diamond engagement ring sparkled in the sun. Then I noticed the bracelet on her ankle. "Sandy, did you get a new anklet? I don't remember seeing that one," I said. She replied, "Bob gave it to me. Do you like it?" Sandy placed her foot on the step going back up into the house so I could get a better look. I could see it was a thin gold chain with a small charm hanging from it. The charm spelled the words, "Beautiful wife." "Everyone knows you are beautiful, my dear. I don't know that you have to advertise it," I said. I thought it was cute, she replied. I gave her a wink and said, "It's fine, Sandy, let's go." After stopping for a little south of the border dinner and margaritas, we headed for the club. The club was really lively with way too much going on. We found the table with Sandy's friends and settled in with our drinks. Barb was the most talkative one and was trying too hard to make me feel like part of the group. Besides one other husband, the table consisted of all women, so I started talking with him. Ted seemed like a nice guy. He was just feeling a little out of his element and was hoping to play poker with his regular Friday night crowd. Turns out his wife wouldn't take him up on his offer to let her go out for a night without him. The women were talking away mostly about work, so Ted and I decided to shoot a couple of games of pool. Sometime during the second game, Ted points out this guy at the bar that had just walked in. "That's John over there. He works at the firm where the girls work. I'm not sure what his job title is, but he's like a boss or something." I looked at him and said, "That's one nasty man." Ted told me John was a football player for a couple of years in college. I asked Ted, "Do you think John is servicing any of girls at the table?" Ted replied that John meets the group every Friday night, but had not heard any rumors that John was dating any of them. "Sandy never goes out on Fridays, except when we go together, so I guess she's not part of Big John's harem," I said. About then, the prettiest girl in the bar walked up, followed by the biggest man I'd ever seen so close. Sandy strutted up and said, "John, let me introduce my husband Alex." I responded, "Hi, John," as I reached out for a handshake. That's when I felt like a 6-year-old shaking hands with an adult. I'm standing chest high to this young man that looks like he is chiseled out of stone. He had curly blonde hair and bright blue eyes. John was wearing a short-sleeve shirt that looked like it was painted on. His upper arms were larger than Sandy's waist. You could see his muscular square chest and 6-pack abdominals through the shirt. He was wearing a pair of tight-fitting jeans, and his legs were large, long, and chiseled like the rest of him. Sandy coaxed us back to the table to get more intoxicated and enjoy the band. We were sitting at the table, and everyone was having a good time. Then the lights go out, the stage lights up, and the band starts their second set. Now for the first time I realize just how much you can see through Sandy's top. As she sat between me and the stage lights, I could see her perfect figure. I felt excited. I also repeatedly caught Big John admiring the view. He was sitting in the chair next to me and could easily see what I saw. The stage lights went out, and the lights came back on. You could no longer see through Sandy's top. I was relieved that it wasn't so revealing when the lights were on. Then Sandy got up to go to the bathroom with her friend Barb, and I noticed some more hints of frankness in her clothing. It didn't really bother me. She wasn't the only woman in the bar flaunting her figure, and her outfit looked stylish and beautiful. Big John got up to go to the bar to refill his cup when he noticed 2 guys walking behind Sandy and slightly or visibly admiring her. He put one hand on the back of each of them and told them to be respectful. He said, "I don't think you guys want to give her a hard time. She's married to my best friend." I thought they were both scared. Big John let them go, and they were thankful to escape unharmed. John went to the bar for a drink, and Sandy rejoined me at the table. Sandy said, "Did you catch what just happened?" I said, "I saw what happened, but I didn't hear what the boys were saying before John intervened. They were standing behind me making comments about what they wanted to do to me. I'm glad John stopped that," she said. "He was in the right place at the right time. If I had been right there, I would have shut them up myself." John returned with a round of drinks and set them out for us, and I thanked him for defending my wife's honor. John said they were rude, and no woman needs to hear that sort of thing. Sandy also told him thanks, and he replied to her, "Anytime, but you do owe me a dance sometime tonight." Sandy looked at me and then at John and replied that would be okay. Soon the light disappeared and the transparent show turned on again. The third song was a slow dance song, and John asked Sandy if she wanted to dance with him. She agreed, and the two found themselves in the crowd of dancers in front of the stage. The stage lights now shone through Sandy's white pants, showing the shadow of her slender legs. I thought about how beautiful she was and how lucky I was. John and Sandy were dancing at a respectable distance until about halfway through. He put his huge hands around her tiny waist. He could easily engulf her entire waist with his hands. He pulled her closer to him had he moved his arms around her. Her head was now against the lower chest area. He makes her look so tiny. Suddenly Barb spoke and woke me from my coma. "Don't worry about John. He's a bit of a playboy, but your Sandy only has eyes for you." I asked, "How do you know that?" She replied that John likes to flirt a bit, and that Sandy always reminds him that she is happily married. Thanks for telling me that. I was getting a bit nervous about him. She gave me a hug and said, "Anytime, sweetie, but I do wish he would look at me that way." I replied, "Do you mean he doesn't? I was under the impression you had a pretty good following. After all, you are a very attractive young lady." She gave me a peck on the cheek and said, "I think I know why Sandy is so much in love with you." Then Barb got up and went to the bar to fill up again. As she walked, I couldn't help but admire her long legs that showed through the dress she was wearing. She had a very beautiful gait. I was hoping to see her in this dress on the dance floor to see the light show later. Of course, Big John asked Sandy for another dance a few songs later, but Sandy said she was going to sit alone and enjoy her cocktail. Then John asked Barb, and she didn't hesitate. I couldn't believe the sight of Barb walking in front of the stage lights. Her see-through sundress showed off her beautiful long legs as she danced to lively rock and roll. Sandy looked at me and said, "Alex, I think I have had enough to drink. Take me home, Daddy." After pulling into the driveway, we walked around back to the patio. I unlocked the slider door and Sandy sat on a chair by the patio table. I started fixing myself a drink and heard Sandy yell, "Me too." I walked out on the porch with our drinks. "Sandy, I don't think you know just how hot you look tonight." "Thanks, Alex," she said as she took a big drink from her glass. I continued when the lights went out and the stage lights came on. If someone was sitting where John and I were, we had a good view of your waist. Sandy replied, you could. I guess that's why John started getting ideas. I'm still pissed about him thinking he could pull me that close to him while we danced. Did you see what he did? I saw that he pulled you close, but I didn't notice he did anything to be offensive. I relied. Sandy took another drink from her glass and said she didn't want to talk about it. Then she walked over to the lounge and leaned back. She gave me the naughtiest look and stared in my eyes while she took her top off outside on the patio. Some of the neighbors' lights were still on, so I told Sandy, let's go inside. I think you've had a few too many happy drinks, honey. She was still looking at me as she stood there and raised her arms. Take me to my room and stay with me, Daddy, she said. I went to her and she reached for my neck. I hugged her and lifted her up. Then I carried her up the stairs to our bedroom. She lay down on the bed and asked me to pull her pants off for her, so I took off my shirt and pants and got on the bed. I fulfilled the request. I was getting pretty hard despite all the alcohol I had. We became friends by touching each other. Oh, you are a naughty girl today, I said. Were you a naughty girl? Are you going to tell Dad? Sandy replied. Yes, I was really naughty. I couldn't take it anymore. I took her small wrist in my hands and pressed her against the bed. We spent time together until I was satisfied. We hugged for a few minutes, then I got up, rinsed and dried myself. I went downstairs and made another drink. Not that I drank much. I could hear Sandy in the bathroom. Rarely when we spend time together, she plays like this. We are usually silent and kiss a lot. Sandy calling me Daddy and telling me she was naughty made me so anxious that I couldn't last as long as I would have liked. I would give anything to make it last longer. I went back to the bedroom and crawled under the sheets. Sandy came back in a t-shirt. She crawled up to me and looked at me with those big brown eyes that no one can deny. When John was dancing with me, I could see him getting nervous. She said, I started walking away from him to get off the dance floor. Then he pulled me to him. He deliberately tried to press me closer to him. Sandy was lying there with her arms around me. When she told me about the dance with John, I felt just a little bit of excitement. Sandy must have noticed this and tried to get closer to better gauge my reaction to her pillow talk. I have to be honest with you. He has been coming on to me for quite some time now at work. I mentioned that her friend Bob had told me that John liked to flirt with her. She continued, I always remind him that I am happily married and faithful to my husband, but I have to admit he almost wore me out tonight when he wrapped those big arms around my waist. I thought I wouldn't hold back. I felt my excitement rise as she continued. He's usually very nice and respectful, like when he stopped those two from making comments about me. She was very much aware that I was getting harder again. She reached down and began slowly stroking me. I could see a little smile on her lips that she was trying to hold back. Sandy went on to say, can you believe how big he is and strong? He looks older than 26, don't you think? And not wanting to hear the truth. I asked her if she ever dreamed of being with Big John. After asking her about it, my excitement was uncontrollable and Sandy couldn't help but smile. Then she asked, is talking about this making you excited? Just laying next to you, Sandy, makes me nervous. But I'll admit that when the stage lights came on and knowing that someone other than me was enjoying the sight of your figure, it did make me a little nervous. Sandy then told me that she hasn't fantasized about John, but that he has been a little persistent about wanting her to go out with him, and he isn't the only one. This, of course, is nothing new. Sandy has always had her admirers, but she doesn't usually tell me much about it. One thing, Alex, I was young when we got married and I've never been with anyone else, so yeah. And I guess it's only natural to have an interest in someone else. Never thought about that. I replied, Sandy, honey, it would break my heart if you spent time with someone else. Then she said, I wouldn't have guessed it from the way you get excited when we talk about someone being interested in me. Sandy, I just want to spend time with you. Can we do that? She replied, it's getting late, Alex. I'm tired now and need to get some sleep, okay? I reluctantly turned off the lamp and we went to sleep. Subscribe to our channel so that your second C gaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.